summer, and I had just graduated high school, and I had no job and no money, and I owed my dad money from like senior packages and prom and all that, senior stuff. It was a total of like $500. So I applied like Target, like anywhere you could think of. I didn't want to work at fast food, like that's like the easiest place to get in, so I didn't apply there. I never got called back, took 2 weeks, I didn't get them, because I had like no experience. So then my friend got me a job at a junkyard with him. And he made pretty good money, like he'd always spot me everything, like he was pretty well off, because he worked a lot and like good pay. But I wasn't 17, I wasn't 18 yet, I was still 17, so I couldn't work for the company, so I worked under the table with the locksmith. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, learn some like traits and stuff, like whatnot. So like I go and like the guy's cool, he shows me around, he teaches me how to take out like steering columns and like break open cars. And I liked it for like the first week, but then after like, second week, I kind of grew to hate that job with my guts, because it was just horrible. Like the customers there are like horrible, like people complain about being a cashier, but like I got swung at before because they don't like the way I touch their car or whatever. And you can't hit them back or else you get fired. So like I got swung at, and like you could imagine like I'm pretty big and like some people have small cars. So like I'm like trying to squeeze my way into like the bottom of like a Honda Accord. So it's kind of tough for me. And like sometimes the screws won't. It's just horrible like in the hot sun, and the floor is like this thick of like grease. It's horrible. So I wanted to quit, but I wanted to have the money, I wanted to be responsible. Like I wanted to prove myself, so I stayed there. And then there's one day I go to they only have porta potties, so I never went to the restroom, but I couldn't hold it. So like I went and like I didn't want to sit on the toilet, so I squatted, and then like I'm doing my thing, and then before I know it, something bites my children. So like I storm out of there, and then like I just look at my boss, and I'm like, fuck this, I'm quitting tomorrow. I'm gonna get paid the next day. So then I go the next day, and he's not there. So I'm like tripping out. He always ran late too, because we'd go get like supplies from this store in the Bellflower, so he'd be like an hour late sometimes. So I'd just be sitting by the van. And then so it's like lunchtime, he's still not there, so I'm like, I'm leaving. So I left. And then I come back the next day, and then my coworker, he's not there. So like my coworkers, I'm like, hey, have you talked to him? He's like, oh, he got arrested. I was like, oh shit. So like at that point, I'm like thinking, I'm like, oh well, I just lost my job. Because like, he's not gonna pay me from a jail cell, so I lost it. And then I'm thinking, I'm like, well, I stole with my dad $300, and I wanted to pay him, and he was like on my ass about it. So then I actually applied at the YMCA, and I actually got called back, surprisingly. So like I set up an interview and all that, and I did really good on the interview. Like the lady said that I'm perfect for the job and need more people like me. So I was like all stoked and happy. So then she calls me, and she does like after the interview, and she says like, oh, I talked to your references, and they all said great things about you, so I'm gonna offer you a job. And I was like, oh, cool. She's like, oh, the pay is blah blah blah, hours are blah blah blah. She's just like, just give me your social security and your date of birth. So I give her my social, and then I give her my date of birth, which is November 9th, 1999. And then she's like, oh, could you repeat your birthday? I was like, yeah, November 9th, 1999. And then she pauses, she's like, oh, well, you're still 17? I was like, yeah, why, is there a problem? And then she's like, well, you have to be 18 to work here. I was like, oh, shit. And like I just stayed quiet, and she's like, well, on November 10th, I'll give you a call. I was like, yeah, whatever, like she ain't gonna fucking call me. So I'm gonna call her. So then, I go, and I was at my grandparents' house, and everyone's like waiting in the living room, like all my cousins. And I'm all dressed nice because I came back from the interview, and they all look at me, they're like, what happened? I was like, oh, I got fired. And they're like, what? And I explained to them. So it's like, that was like a horrible week in my life, because like I got happy and then I got sad. And I stole my dad the money, and I'm still broke as shit.